Hi, this is Kyle Robinson, and this is my ASL 125 sentence structure tutorial video. Today we'll be going over the 8 different types of sentence structures. First up, we have simple sentences. Simple sentences have varying structures, um, unless they contain an actor or a receiver, which we'll go over a little bit once we get to that example down there at the bottom. These sentences are typically pretty short, and the non-manuals include, um, matching the intensity of what you're saying. So if you're saying, my dog died, you should have a really, really sad look on your face, or I got a new job, you should be looking really excited. And the examples that I included here are me love food and John hates Steven. That's one of those examples of where we have an actor and receiver. John, he's the one who hates Steven, so we couldn't flip-flop those unless Steven did actually hate John. Next up, we have negation sentences. Again, these can be any sentence structure, so any of the other 7 sentence structures. However, these must include a negative sign before the verb, or a negative head shake or hand sign after describing the topic. The non-manuals that are used for this, they match the sentence type. The negative head shake isn't necessary for all negations, but it's a really good habit to get into, because it's a very clear way of telling that the sentence is being negated. The example that I included is, I'm tired, no. So the English version of that would be, no, I'm not tired. Up next, we have conditional sentence structures. These contain a conditional clause, which is the if or suppose sign, which have to be at the start of each sentence. And then the outcome is always the second part of the sentence. The non-manuals for this include raising your eyebrows, tilting the head, and holding the last sign of the first clause for a short moment, kind of lingering on it. The example that I included is, if I can't find my keys, we can't go, and suppose she see me must leave. That photo I have down below is an example of the sign for suppose. Next, we have topic comment, or time topic comment, which is the structure of the sentence, the order that it needs to go in. First, you have to state your topic and then comment on it. You need to talk about it. You have to place adverbs at the beginning of the sentences. And the non-manuals include eye contact, which I'm sure you're starting to notice is a very common theme. Eyebrows raised, slightly leaning forward, so not just the head tilted forward, but leaning forward. You need to take a slight pause between the topic and the comment. And again, you need to hold the sign of the topic just slightly longer. So for the example of that would be, last night, sunset. Sunset is the topic, that's why it's underlined. You would hang on that for a moment. So again, it would go, last night, sunset, beautiful. And then you can see that slight pause in my tone of voice. Next, we have simple yes-no questions. I included the signs for yes and no over here on the right, which are very common signs you learn very early. Again, these sentences are very short. The order of the sentence can vary. And non-manuals turn your sentence into the question. So these non-manuals are eye contact, raising your eyebrows, and slight head tilt forward. you want exercise. Next, we have long yes/no questions, or they're also known as time topic question. The order goes, you need to describe your topic and then ask your question at the end of the sentence, very similar to the time topic question or comment, sorry. The non-manuals for this are eye contact, eyebrows raised, and head tilted forward. My example is homework today. You have second to last, we have rhetorical questions, which often use WH style questions, your who, what, when, where, and why. These, which are a bit different than your normal English rhetorical questions, is the signer asks question, but then immediately answers their own question rather than waiting for somebody else to answer their question. Like I said before, they don't typically have the same English structure. For example, if you included why in your rhetorical question, in English this would come out to because. So if you said "Misik, why?" It's flu season. In English, you would turn that into "It's sick because I'm sick because of the flu season." The non-manuals for this include eye contact, again, eyebrows raised, head tilted forward, and you hold that last sign of the rhetorical question very slightly. So the example would be, me live where? Riverside. And finally, we have information seeking questions / WH questions. Like I said before, these are the who, what, where, when, why, how much / how many. And these are typically placed at the end of each sentence. These are asking questions that request information. And the non-manuals for short sentences are used on the entire question, whereas with a long question, you just use the non-manuals on the sign that's asking the question, if that makes sense. These non-manuals are eye contact, eyebrows squeezed together, and head tilted forward. And my example is, you need help when? And I'm sure you can see that photo. If you don't know who that is, that's Little John. He was really famous in the early 2000s for his very enthusiastic whats and yeahs and okays. And so that's why I decided to include him in the information seeking / WH question, because that's always a great way for me to remember. I always think of his extreme what? Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this, and thanks for listening.